Since the dawn of time, man has had a story to tell. Chronicles of great adventures, legendary heroes. These are epic stories, and no medium has ever told them better than motion picture.
I love a good story, and I love to share a story, you know. It's like when you have a great story, you have a big, big secret.
I'm Tom Skerritt. Join us for a look back at some of Hollywood's greatest moments and a look ahead at its newest epic when we go to Santa Fe, New Mexico with Kevin Costner as he brings Wyatt Earp to the screen.
These are the Alabama hills outside Lone Pine, California, where the storytellers who make the movies have returned time and again. Set in colonial India, war-torn North Africa, or medieval Spain, these are the stories, the sagas, that fire our imaginations.
I was 7 years old. I'd gone on a birthday party at the Cinerama Dome. Movies are sometimes about moments you'll never, ever forget in your life. And Spencer Tracy started narrating, and then I saw the first image of Jimmy Stewart in a birch bark canoe, and it marked me. It was like the scent was all over me. I was mesmerized by the long movie, by the epic movie, by storytelling. 25 years later, I had a movie that premiered at the Cinerama Dome, The Untouchables, and I wouldn't go see it there because it could never have lived up to How the West Was Won meant to me.
The Wild West, Paris in the Jazz Age, the Roman Republic. How do you get there? Just dim the lights and roll the movie. In the dark, we meet legends who changed the path of history, who loved to the fullest and battled to the end. Their stories are what Hollywood does best, the epic motion picture. In a speeding chariot, Ben-Hur took us back into ancient history. It made movie history when it took home 11 Oscars, including Best Actor for Charlton Heston.
The epic film has to do with historic events, the fall of Rome, the liberation of the Jews, the Crusades. They, of course, have battles and sometimes love stories, and they are important and exciting.
The magic touch of director David Lean left an indelible print on the epic motion picture. From Dr. Zhivago to Lawrence of Arabia, Lean traveled the world to create his unforgettable images.
There's no big stuff, is there, anymore? And I think the movies are wonderful when they tell a story, and the story contains these great big outsized characters that you feel privileged to have dinner with, as it were.
Lindbergh speaking.
When an airmail pilot named Charles Lindbergh soloed across the Atlantic, he caught the spirit of a nation, became a hero to the world, and his inspiring story was a natural for the movies. But it takes a special breed of actor to portray larger-than-life heroes. No one personified strength of character like John Wayne, as big and rugged as the frontier he tamed.
That's what we see in John Wayne, isn't it? We see someone who can take care of themselves and who has a great deal of integrity and doesn't start a fight, but always ends one. They're all pretty good values to lead your life by.
Let's go home, Debbie.
We'll be waiting for you, Marshal, at the OK Corral.
Director John Ford understood how important the star was, so in 1946 he chose the rock-solid Henry Fonda to play a man called Wyatt Earp.
My name is Wyatt Earp. Very few guys can do the kind of things that Wyatt Earp did. So when people sometimes try to identify this man's life by simply pointing at a newspaper that was written in 1870, I think they're missing the point. And I think that the truth that you find is in human behavior, and that's how I prepared for Wyatt Earp.
Action.
We've been talking. We like it here in Dodge.
We want you to stop talking to our husbands about going to Tombstone.
If you believe in destiny, he was going west from the moment he saw it. I mean, he saw it when he was young, and he loved it.
Well, the West offered incredible adventure to young people, and Wyatt Earp took advantage of this. He was a teamster. He worked on the Union Pacific Railroad. He followed the gold rush to the Black Hills. He helped tame the cattle towns. And, of course, he followed the mining booms. This was a man who participated in all of the great epic events of the final frontier settlement.
In an epic movie, when it's done well, there's nothing better. I love that investment of the movie and of somebody taking their time to tell the story.
Nothing tells the epic story quite as well as music.
Confidence that I need to hear violin part.
It was the biggest orchestra I've ever used, only because the geography of the picture was so huge, and some of the events are these just the most classic, wonderful cinematic events that I think people would feel as they were making this tremendous journey across this wilderness.
Any large picture compounds in difficulty and pressure on everyone, and it means planning, it means logistics, it means leadership, which means that a director on a film like that, really on any film, has to be a good captain.
Monument Valley, Utah, where John Ford and John Wayne made some of the screen's most memorable westerns. There's something special when a director finds his counterpart in a star. Together, Wayne and Ford made 16 movies. Jimmy Stewart and Anthony Mann teamed up for 8 great movies. Gregory Peck and Henry King paired for 6. Director Lawrence Kasdan first worked with Kevin Costner on The Big Chill and later on Silverado before they re-teamed for Wyatt Earp.
Kevin also has a kind of grace which reminds me very much of not just Gary Cooper, who he's often compared to, but Henry Fonda, who played Wyatt Earp in My Darling Clementine.
There is the adage of don't mix friendship and business. I've never really adhered to that. I like my friends around. It's as closest thing to recess as I could find in the real world, except that the days are terribly long and there is work to be done. Just back me right out. Just put your finger right in my nose like it's a gun. Like it's a gun? Yeah. Oh.
When we come back, we'll see for ourselves how an epic comes to screen, as Kevin Costner becomes a lawman and a legend. Wyatt Earp. When H.G. Wells described the time machine, it looked nothing like this. But a movie camera can take us to any point in history. The cast and crew of Gunga Din came here in 1938 and went home with a classic. But despite technical advances, movies are still made one shot at a time.
Damn it, Wyatt! Move this wagon! They're catching up!
The way we make films, we have a lot of confidence going in on day one. We're ready. We've taken every lesson we've learned in our life, and we're going to apply it to this situation. And so, on the first day, there's always great excitement.
Let's go.
And so the adventure begins.
Reset right away, please.
Producer-director Lawrence Kasdan gathered a crew of 300 to bring a legend to life.
That way they stop, they look, and just watch them go.
We can wedge that one. No, yeah.
Wyatt Earp provided them with a rare opportunity to make the most challenging type of movie, the epic. For a movie, you build a set. For an epic, you create a world. Outside Santa Fe, a 14-acre western town bloomed on a desert floor.
There you can.
Move on, let's get Morgan and Virgil.
Pistolas.
Boom.
Talk it up. Everybody's buzzing. Everybody's excited about this. Here we go. And background moving. Rolling. Action.
I was very interested in making it authentic. It's a colorful, rich period. If you are true to the period, it's amazing what was going on back there.
Authenticity was also the aim of production designer Ida Random.
Get right in here where the peanuts are.
Yeah.
She and set decorator Cheryl Karesic created 92 different sets, dressed to the last detail.
Absolutely, everything is pulled from research because you have to.
And we just want to fill the frame with this stuff. Don't give me any...
He wants to see everything. He loves details. He will go on a set and he will open drawers and things. It's a lot of fine-tuning.
Yeah, we may want to turn these around.
Okay.
Yeah, some going this way, some going that way.
Authenticity is important to me in every movie I've ever done. You know, there's something at stake. I think when you enter into a world, you owe it to yourself to portray that world as realistically as possible. People who are expanding the country just before the turn of the century, you need to kind of try to portray the life.
You gotta see?
Not a lot.
Okay.
The part we'll see is on the ends.
Because the edges look really good.
This movie's a really big movie. It's the biggest movie I've worked on. I bet we have 20,000 pieces of clothing here, minimum. The first grouping that we did was the covered wagons and the pioneers heading to the west where the story sort of opens up.
Here we go. Make me believe it. And action.
Wanted, Gandy Dancer. Workers with the ability to lay a railroad track were needed for this scene. The production had to recruit people to display skills not often seen in this century. Gunsmiths, blacksmiths, even a faro dealer.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the name of the game is faro. It's not blackjack, it's not...
We manufactured all the gambling equipment that we used. We had to manufacture the chips. That was kind of a big deal. That took us quite a while to get the designs down. We manufactured most of the props for this movie because the stuff that was available was worn out. Nobody had this amount of stuff in any good shape. So we just went ahead and had it all manufactured.
Good. Okay, starting to work. Let's try it again, Steve.
Okay, another rehearsal, please.
100 years after the Gandy Dancers finished laying the Transcontinental Railroad, the Wyatt Earp crew put down nearly as many miles of track for the cameras.
Larry and I both love the format, widescreen format. In this particular instance, it adds a tremendous dimension to it. It gives the picture a bigger feeling, of course.
You believe in friendship, Wyatt Earp.
The cast of the picture included an impressive array of stars. Dennis Quaid as Doc Holliday, Gene Hackman, Jeff Fahey, Annabeth Gish, Joanne Going, Mark Harmon, Michael Madsen, Catherine O'Hara, Bill Pullman, Isabella Rossellini, Tom Sizemore, Jo Beth Williams, and Mayor Winningham.
All right, let's move on. Hey, cut. Checking the gate. New deal. Everything faster.
A strong reason for me to do this was that I thought Kevin was born to play Wyatt. Kevin, as an actor and as a star, embodies a lot of the straightforward American virtues that we most admire.
Bad guy time. Gotta go get him.
Well, there were hundreds of other gunfights in the Old West.
You just moved out of the OK Corral.
But the gunfight at the OK Corral is probably the most classic gunfight ever fought.
Let's go.
One of the reasons that the gunfight at the OK Corral looms so large in our mythology is that these three brothers and this friend went down to face the enemy. That's what everyone dreams of, a family that will be with you to the death.
On a dusty morning in 1993, the clock was turned back to October 26, 1881, the day Wyatt Earp walked into history.
You know that a whole series of things led up to why a character does what they do in that final moment that sears itself into history. I could be happy anywhere with you, Urilla. What I care about is being with you.
The grace of the Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the communion of the Holy Ghost be with you all.
Over the course of production, 125 miles of film went through the camera and into the editing room.
Editing is a search for the best possible solution. You figure there'll be a solution if you just keep working at it. You'll find one at some point. And that's what I do. I get lost in this world of getting the pieces to work. There are many times or glances and moments that were not planned. When Josie arrives and Wyatt recognizes her, Virgil, his brother, realizes that there is this little interplay between Josie and Wyatt is interested. There were several takes of Virgil, but there was only one where Virgil sort of turned on his heel and laughed at his brother as he left. It's a moment that will be very telling.
Wyatt.
When producer Jim Wilson became partners with Kevin Costner, their first collaboration was an epic, Dances with Wolves.
In comparison to Dances with Wolves, as wide as dances seem to appear, it's not nearly as dense as Wyatt Earp is. Wyatt Earp, in every regard, from, as I say, extras to locations to these cities we've built, is larger than anything I've recently been a part of. When you do a film of this size, this scope, you get into a role maybe a second or third week.
Good work, gentlemen. Thank you.
But to retain that for 19 weeks is one of the most difficult things.
And then Bessie has a line coming up.
And I think the biggest challenge is that everybody remains intact. We'll go from July through to the first week of December. We go from the heat of the summer to the cold of the winter. So it's not a given scene or, gee, will he be able to handle something so big? There's an energy that is provided and sustained for 19 weeks out here, and the elements get to you.
And here's today's weather report for the Santa Fe area. Sunrise 6:02 a.m., sunset 7:45 p.m. There will be morning high clouds with a 10% chance of showers.
Despite the conditions, the special effects department was expected to summon the elements like the gods. On cue, they delivered snow, fire, and, of course, rain.
If they catch you, they'll hang you. So you get on that horse, Wyatt, and you ride. You keep riding until you get out of Arkansas.
Great action sequences power an epic motion picture. Stunt coordinator Norman Howell kept his team busy with a roster of bone-crushing stunts. From a dangerous high fall he tackled himself, to the shooting dismount assigned to Keith Helm.
Rolling. 44, take 3.
Kids were always welcome on the set, as long as they brought their toys.
What's the first thing we do when we get our checks? Count them.
Movies of this proportion have the power to thrill audiences even before they're in the theaters. When Las Vegas, New Mexico stood in for Lamar, Missouri, the whole town turned out to witness an event.
I love a good story. You know when you find that exact right present to give someone at Christmas? That's what I feel like with my movies. And so I'm excited about that gift. So I live on that excitement of knowing that we've taken our time and we've done the very best we could for that investment in the dark.
Wyatt Earp.
Give me a gun. Give me a gun, I'll kill anyone who tries to hurt you.
I'm dead anyway. So if you want to go out in a blaze of glory, I'm with you.
Just as time turned a giant lake into this desert, the movie industry transformed a sleepy village into a thriving city. Hollywood became the last Western boom town. And it's where Wyatt died in 1929. His pallbearers included Tom Mix and William S. Hart, the cowboy stars he inspired. 3 years later, Wyatt Earp was born again on the movie screen, destined to live as a legend.